Welcome. It is Sunday. It is time for Chasing Billy. Last week I believe I said Chasing Bonnie, and I didn't even notice it until we re-edited the video. But welcome to Chasing Billy. It's a very special Sunday this week because Josh and Jeremiah have traveled on location to our satellite offices in Fort Sumner, and we're going to get an on-location treat and take a look at the all the area around Fort Sumner and point out where things were back in the day. So I'm going to bring Josh and Jeremiah are in the car getting the last few bits of AC that they can before they venture out to show you the world. So I'm going to bring them onto the screen. And Jeremiah is at campaign headquarters. Billy the Kid.
Make Lincoln great again.
Make New Mexico great again. Josh, you coming through all right?
Yep, I can hear you good, man. How about on your end? We good on
Check
your end,
one.
James?
There you are. You showed up.
There
That was
go.
weird.
Okay, that was odd.
Yep,
I'm good. A little sunburned, and it's hot out here, man.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you fellas run with it, and we're going to enjoy the sights.
Sure. All right. We ready? All right, boys. We're gonna. All right. So right now we're gonna be in front of the. Again, this used to be the old museum everybody's talked about. So about 10 years ago, this closed down, and right now it's just the Chamber of Commerce. So we'll go around that in just a second. But yeah, so this is the old museum that everybody talks about that closed down about 10 years ago. So we're gonna let Lucy out real quick. Come on, Lucy, let's go. So anyways.
Lucy is the official dog of the coalition.
Yes, she is. She absolutely is. Come on, Lucy. Come on.
Hey, whoever you passed right there, do they know we're in the spirit world?
They have no idea. No idea. Come on, Lucy. How are y'all doing? Yes, you do. We're making it. So this is the Chamber of Commerce. They're actually closed on Sunday, so we're going to come back in and see them tomorrow, give them some Billy swag. But anyways, Chamber of Commerce is located right here, right beside the grave. And as you can see, for those of y'all who have not been here before, well, watch out, Lucy. This is it. This is a promised land. This is what has consumed my life for the last 25 years. Jamal will make his way on in here. We'll give you a good
Josh.
scan everything. Yes, sir.
The video's a little spotty. I'd suggest moving as slower. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, absolutely.
To give it a
Sure.
Yeah,
okay.
Looking good now.
All right. So we're going to go over the first grave we walk into is Joe Grant's grave. And again, as we've talked about this before, this is not where Joe Grant's buried. Lucy, come here. Come here, Lucy. This was put up I'd say about 12 to 15 years ago, a little after the year 2000. Obviously, it was put up here, I'm assuming, for tourists. So I'm going to walk around this way, and I'm going to actually take y'all to where Joe Grant is actually buried. Come on, Lucy, let's show him. And we'll show y'all where Joe Grant's actually buried, and then we'll break down Billy's headstone here in just a second. And again, James, like we talked about, keep up with the comments and all that. And once I give the basic tour, then we'll take some questions, or if there's anything specific people want to see, we'll go from there.
Absolutely.
So anyways, as much as everybody wants to see it, I'm going to bypass Billy's grave, but they can see in relation to it. Joe Grant's grave, and we've shared the photo of it in our volume 3, but Joe Grant would be buried just about right here, one way or the other, by a foot or so. So, again, originally, probably about 1996 to 2000, there were 2 singular wooden posts that stuck up right here, and then one on the right side, and he was located on the left, just directly beside and a few feet up from where Billy's buried. So, anyways, let's go back to Billy's grave real quick. And I don't know how many people have seen this. Obviously, everybody's seen it, I suppose. But again, we've got the big headstone that everybody's accustomed to. This was mapped out, and this site was located or refound, if you will, in 1930 by Mr. Ford and his friends. And then by 1931, the Palace headstone was put up, and here it sits encased ever since. The single headstone that we see here, again, this was put up in 1940. It was stolen in 1950. It was recovered, and then I think it was stolen again in 1981, if I remember correctly, and it was returned shortly thereafter. So it talks about Billy killing 21 men on it, which I'm not real crazy about that. But yeah, this is it, and he's been here ever since, as you can see. And I would love to know how much change is actually sitting in these behind these bars. So, but anyways, I was going to talk.
Josh,
We mentioned, yes, sir. What's up?
Lee Stevenson says, "Can you stand where Tom and Charlie are supposed to be? Do you think
Sure.
that they're, outside of the cage or what?"
So yeah, that's actually just what I was getting to. So my firm belief, based on the Doudreau map and where these gentlemen marked this off, it lines perfectly. So my gut tells me they're pretty much within a couple feet of exactly where we see it at. Now, with that in mind, right here, this far one on the right would be Billy. This is when it gets tricky. This is Tom. But then if you look at the Doudreau map, Charlie's going to be located, and this is a very rough guess, but Charlie would be located probably about right here. So unfortunately, God rest his soul, every time we walk through here, we're probably walking right over him. But yeah, by Doudreau's map, he clearly indicates that it's Billy and Tom side by side, and then Charlie. And he actually just says Billy's gang, but we know Charlie was there. I'm sorry, we know Tom was there, and then Charlie would have been laid probably about right here. So this 3 side by side is just a little bit off, if that makes sense. Does that show a pretty good view of it, James?
Yeah, if we wanted to dig Charlie up, we'd be able to do that, not even disturb the cage.
Yeah, you could dig Charlie up in theory and not even disturb the cage. Now, again, we've got this concrete here to contend with, but but yeah, the cage should not impede with that because, like I said, my guess is he's probably about right here where I'm standing. So hopefully that clears that up just a little bit. Did I give it a good angle, James? You think that does that all make sense? Cool, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, let's let me think now. Let's walk over and check out. So we talked about Joe Grant, which is right here. And then, so even though this cemetery, as you can all see, it doesn't look like there is a lot of graves here. I think there's like 26 markers here. With that in mind, there's probably over 100 and close to 130, just shy of 130 documented bodies, minus the soldiers that were buried here. So I think it was in 1940, 45. No, I'm sorry, 1946, the second to last burial that was here. They did a newspaper story on it, and they said they actually had to dig 3 times before they could find a spot to lay the person to rest. So that shows you, as small as this is and as open as it looks, I mean, there's bodies everywhere here. That's why, getting back to the conversation from last week about the ground penetrating radar, I just question how successful it would be because I'm just afraid it would go off everywhere. Because again, there's bodies pretty much everywhere here, according to that 1946 newspaper report. So, anyways, we know this is where Silva was buried. Jesus Silva, we know, is one of the pallbearers of Billy the Kid. This is one of our key players that we talk about all the time. I know we've really talked about Mr. Silva a lot over the last month, probably on the show, in regards to his involvement in Billy's death and the pallbearer and Paco and I and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so that's his grave. And actually, since I was here last, they added this monument, this stone right here to it. So that's pretty cool, actually.
What does the stone say?
Said Jesus Silva, friend and pallbearer to Billy the Kid. Says in an interview with Jack Cole in 1937, it was the night of July 14th, 1881. The kid had just ridden into town. He was hot and tired and had drank beer together. He told me he was going to go home to Don Pedro Maxwell's for a cut of fresh beef for his supper. In a few minutes, there were shots. I ran over to Maxwell's home, and the kid was dead on the floor, face down. We moved the body to the old carpenter's shop. We laid the body on the carpenter's bench and placed candles around the corpse. He was buried in the old graveyard the next day. And when we go over to the other side of the fort, we'll point out the location where the carpenter shop was and all that and put it in relation to everything else. So
Nice.
we'll head this way. I don't remember who it was that asked, but this is probably I'm not going to say the most populated part of the cemetery, but certainly the part that is marked the best, or at least is heavily marked. So Paulita Maxwell, somebody asked where Paulita Maxwell was buried at and where her grave's at. And it's actually right here. She's in a joint headstone with the Abreu family. And they actually came over with the Maxwells from Cimarron when they moved down here. So, anyways, you can see Paulita. She actually goes by her last name on this. Her name's listed at the very bottom. When Jeremiah gets around here, we'll show a little bit better view of that. And while he's zooming in on that, James, are we good as far as sound? How's the wind? Is wind quality
Oh, I
good?
can't even hear the wind. As far as I
Perfect.
know, maybe some of the viewers if they can hear it. The only thing is the video quality is pretty good when you stop, and give it a chance to check up. But it's just the nature of the beast
Yeah,
that it's going to be kind of spotty as you're walking and stuff like
sure.
that.
And we'll try to slow it down. And obviously, if there's something you want us to zoom in on more, just let me know.
Like that's a really good shot of the Abreu tombstone there, headstone, because it's come through pretty clear.
Right. And I would like to know, because I'm not in the genealogy angle of this like you are, like a couple of our other guys. I would like to know, other than the Abreu family coming over, is there a specific reason that you're aware of why they would lump them into the same umbrella as far as the headstone goes?
No, I haven't looked into that, but we could.
Haven't either.
That'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah, because I just I had not really realized until we started doing this that she was actually listed under that. I knew she was buried here, but it's just interesting that they lumped them all together. So
Hey, what's that? What's that behind you, Josh?
behind me. Oh yeah, that's Fred. So anyways, yeah, Delavina Maxwell, we all know she's not buried here. She's buried in Albuquerque. Not our research, but it's my understanding that we're not able to find where she's at specifically. So one of our members, Fred, this is his work. Really cool, really good stuff. And they got permission to put this here just to kind of honor her name. So I think that's pretty neat.
Looking good, Fred.
Looking good, Fred. Thank you, sir. It actually is. This is the first time because it wasn't here the last time. So this is actually really solid work. While we're in the same vicinity, Jeremiah, let's show them where Charlie Four is buried at. Everybody knows Charlie's the one that put the headstone up, or at least orchestrated that. So he was buried here in 1940. He lived to be 90 years old, which is crazy to think about back then. But this is him and his wife that are buried here. And this is just going to be to the south of where the Maxwells and the Abreu family is.
Awesome.
So cool. Good deal. Good deal. So we're gonna walk over to Lucy. You do your own thing, girl. All right, we're gonna walk over here. Let's show everyone Pete's headstone. As far as name recognition, of course, everybody will recognize Pete. We'll show Pete's headstone. And again, there's a lot of old photos of this dating back. I mean, he was buried in 1898, was when he was died and buried here. So there's a lot of really old photos of this grave. There's one that in particular that's really cool that shows the tall grass, and you look at it straight, you can see Billy's headstone before the cage was put up. But this is where Pete's at. Yeah. As we probably know by now, it's been pretty well published. The rocks that go around here are actually the only thing that is remaining of the Maxwell house where Billy died. And this is actually, these rocks are from the fireplace that would have been where Billy fell, within a couple feet of him. So that's pretty impressive. With that in mind, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. People don't be douchebags. Don't take these. I can already tell just in the few years since that's been public information that this has already gone down some and it's been disturbed a lot. So everybody respect that, because once this is gone, it's not coming back.
Yeah.
So that's Pete. Lucian Maxwell over here to Jeremiah's right when he gets done over there. This monument was put up obviously for his dad, the famous Maxwell land grant.
Wow.
So, and his wife is buried here in the cemetery as well. So, and I'm going to ask viewers a question because I don't know this. So, Jeremiah, you can zoom in. Almost every headstone here has stones piled on top. Does anybody know? Or do you know, James? Is there supposed to be some significance to that? I mean, I understand the quarter thing and putting dollar bill or dollars and shells and what on it, but I don't know. I've never seen rocks compiled and stuck on top of headstones like they are here.
Yeah, I don't know what the significance is of that either. Maybe one of our viewers does.
Yeah, I don't know. And there were a lot more than that earlier, but some of them, there's so many of them you can't even see it. So we had to move some of them just to read the names. So
wow.
Yeah, and then so directly to the north of this one, or to the viewer's right, we'll go over here and we'll look at the marker of Pat Garrett's first wife. Now, again, The WWHA did this. It's a beautiful headstone. They put this up. Obviously, we know she's buried here in the cemetery. We have no idea where. The records weren't that detailed. So it was put in this location, basically just to pay the respects to her. So that's a really, really pretty headstone. It's been maybe 2 years ago that it was put up. So that's really good work too.
Now, does it specify that she's not buried in that spot?
It does not. Jeremiah can come around here when he gets a second. But yeah, it just on the back, it says who it's donated to. And then it talks about the ceremony the WWHA did on it. Jeremiah's coming around here to show everybody as well. But yeah, it doesn't specify that she is not buried in this location. So,
well, concerning the rocks on top of the markers, Mel says it's just to mark your visit to the grave.
Interesting. Okay. And that is odd because, again, obviously I've been here once or twice, and that's the first time that I've noticed it to this magnitude. I mean, they're just piled on top of it, so that's kind of odd. Anyways, so as far as name significance and people that we'll all know that are associated with Billy the Kid, that pretty much covers the majority of the people that are related to him in this cemetery. Before we start migrating in another direction, is there anything else anybody wants to see or any specific questions related to this before we go elsewhere?
Susan asked if Paulita was separated from her husband.
Yes. Yeah, she divorced him. It's my understanding that he was a bad drunk. And, they divorced sometime after their marriage. I don't believe they were married for a great deal of time, but somebody else may have a better answer for me than that. But
so that would that would explain why she's not buried with Jaramillo.
Correct. Yes. I guess she just legally did not change her name back after the divorce. But yeah, she did not die with that last name. Or not, right. I guess legally she did. But yeah, they divorced long before her death. Yes.
And she asked, why is Paulita spelled Pablita? That's just like a nickname, right?
Yeah, just the Hispanic pronunciation of it's going to be different. I don't know if they're spelling it off of that pronunciation, but yeah, that's my understanding, is just because of the Hispanic side of it. But again, that's certainly not my area of expertise. So if anybody else can correct me on that, then please do.
Right.
Come here, Lucy.
That's about all the questions we have coming, up to date here.
Cool. Well, we're gonna make it back to the car, and then, like I said, we'll get on the road. It's a private road that runs down to the Maxwell site, and we'll show the viewers where the old cemetery, or I'm sorry, where the old military hospital was. Go ahead, James. What's that?
As we're traversing.
Sure.
There is a question that was asked by one of our viewers, Declan, that would be kind of good to discuss while we're moving.
Sure.
He said he'd like to know if we have any information on the killing of Manuel Segovia, the alleged killer of Frank McNabb. In most accounts and books he's read, they implicate Billy as the killer.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, that's my understanding as well. I think Billy and Jose Chavez have been kind of tagged with that one. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I'm not aware of any exact documentation, but that's always been my understanding, that Billy and Chavez were the responsible parties. Does that align with what you were thinking?
Yeah, what puzzles me, and I find it's just curious, is that's one of the killings that's mentioned the least. Nobody hardly ever talks about that. And
no, it's not at all.
The most in-depth account I think you'll find is of Francisco Trujillo, I believe, in the WPA, the Federal Writers Project. He gives an account, and I think that's where I'm not sure if that's where Doc's biography book, Blood on the Saddle, if that phrase comes from that moment, because in Francisco's recollections, he says that they killed Manuel Segovia, and there was a bunch of blood on the saddle, and Billy the Kid owed Francisco a saddle.
Oh, you're fine. You can say hi to everybody. Hi. It's a YouTube channel, Chasing Billy.
I watch it all the time. Brady and Spa.
All right, good to meet you, man. Pleasure.
I saw your sound check earlier, and I was like, I'll just go down there and photobomb. I thought more people would be photobombing. It was kind of
popularity's rising, man. We're getting there. We're getting there.
All right.
But
Hey,
yeah,
you guys going over to that?
Yeah, we're gonna show everybody where the old military hospital used to be, where O'Fallyer was killed at, and then we're gonna go down to that site. So you're welcome to tag along
Well,
if you want.
I'll try to stay out of your way, but if you need a hand or anything, just shout at
All
me.
right, we'll just point at you.
All
It's good to meet you, man.
First photo
Hands
bomb.
everywhere. First photo bomb. It's official.
That's great. But there, Francisco, Billy stole Francisco's saddle and gun from him when they broke Jesse Evans out of jail in Lincoln.
Yes.
And so
correct.
when Francisco came along with Chavez and Doc and Billy to kill the Indian, Manuel Segovia, they called him the Indian. After they killed Manuel, there was a bunch of blood on the saddle, and Billy gave Francisco the saddle, and Francisco was visibly disturbed by the amount of blood on it. And so Doc Skurlock said, "You can have my saddle, Francisco, and I'll clean this one up." So I wonder if that's where the blood on the saddle phrase comes from.
I don't know, but it's that's an awesome title for a book. It needs to be the title of a movie because that's pretty good. I like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that is probably. I mean, that makes sense. So I was going to show you real quick. Sorry. So Jeremiah's painting right now. So one of the main questions we've been asked is to explain the route that Tom took and that not the regulators, but Billy's gang was taking the night he was killed. So the way Jeremiah's looking out, they would have come in from the direction I'm pointing, which would be to the west. I'm sorry, to the east. I apologize. And they were coming towards the west, which they would have probably progressed right in front of. It's actually Highway 212. You can see it running right in front of us. And they would have followed this path, and you can see the houses. And we'll go closer as you go, but you can see that gray house right there with the red trim. And Jeremiah, if you want to take us down there now. And then that will have progressed. That will show the route that they took. And then I'll kind of show, to the best of our knowledge, pretty much where the Indian hospital sat at the time. So yeah, anyway, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to make sure to show that while we were going that route. So now we're actually traveling west. Go ahead.
That was pretty much the whole story about the, Manuel Segovia, is that, and I'm puzzled why that's not talked about more. Maybe it's because there aren't many accounts of it.
Yeah, I don't know, but I know that in Nolan's Lincoln County War documentary history, it talks about it a lot. Or that's probably the best account I've heard of it. But yeah, it's not mentioned a lot. Okay, I would guess, for a good frame of reference, the large tree in front of us, if you want to go over probably 30 to 40 feet into that field, that plowed field, is going to be just about where the old Indian hospital sat. So again, they were progressing this direction when Tom rode up on them. And again, they took fire and immediately reversed and, came back directly from the route that they had just come. In the snow, of course, one horse less. So yeah.
So that area,
give everybody an idea. Right. Yeah. That area of the tilled up field right there would be where the old Indian hospital was. Correct.
And they were coming in from which direction?
They were coming in from the east. So, from the, Texas side, they were coming in down the Texas road into Fort Sumner. I guess as the story goes, they'd heard there was a dance in town. And I think we did a pretty good detailed episode on that a while back when Dawson Lucas talked about that. But yeah, that would have been the route they were coming from, down the Texas road from the west, heading east into Fort Sumner. And that would have been where the hospital sat.
Wow.
So, and as you can see right now to my right, this has obviously been expanded tremendously, but this is an irrigation ditch that runs along here. It's pretty deep and entrenched now, but that would have been there in about the same location even back then, because again, the Pecos, which is going to be that direction to the east, would have fed off into it, or it would have fed off the Pecos, sorry.
Wow.
So, and as you're about to see now, we're coming into, since they built the Navajo monument, this building in front of us we're pulling up to has closed down and it's locked up now. It's still in really good shape. But, when I first started coming here as a kid, this is where the museum was at. And they had inside these, I guess I call them barracks. They're not contemporary. They were built afterwards. And we're going to get out of the car real quick.
Winky said that your doggy is so cute. Lucy, our official coalition dog.
Oh, they have no idea. Lucy's been everywhere with us.
Yep, that's Jeremiah's dog, and she is very polite, very well-mannered, and has the best stories. If you just get her talking.
Yeah, she was out of control in Lincoln. Let me tell you. How much you, Lucy? So, anyways, let's Jeremiah, let's start over here if we can not trip over the wires. So we'll kind of just walk the parade ground. Jeremiah, watch that wire when you step over. We'll walk the parade ground, and we'll kind of show some of the signs that people will recognize from some of the photographs that we've seen, and it kind of helps put it in relation a little bit as far as where we're at. I guess I better slow down. Sorry, James. We good on everything still? I'll make sure nobody's getting frustrated.
Yep.
Perfect.
Still rolling. Misty said, is there any way to make the picture larger? But unfortunately, I think this is just as far as it goes for a cell phone,
Yeah. Jeremiah's our tech whiz here, is seeing if we can expand this any at all. Because where I'm standing at now is a pretty good view to give you an overview of everything that we're looking at.
Wow. Christopher says, is there any chance you're able to walk up to where Tom took his medicine, or is that off limits? Is that private property? Or
yeah, that's going to be on private property. That red house that we showed y'all, or the red trim gray house, that's their backyard basically. So
gotcha.
And if I walked up to it, we'd literally just be standing on a dirt plowed field. So, but yeah, that's going to be kind of hard to do, but I love the enthusiasm. Trust me. Jeremiah, if you want to walk up here, and then we're going to have Jeremiah look east. Watch out, Lucy. And this is going to be looking pretty much across the parade ground. So to your right of this view would have been where Hargrove Saloon was at, which again is where Joe Grant was killed. And then we're looking west now towards the Pecos. The Pecos is actually going to be behind this line of trees, and of course it's dropped off now about 20 feet. And if you were standing in this spot back in 1881, you'd be looking directly at Maxwell's house on your left, and then it would go over, and there were two more structures to the right of it from there, going to about parallel with where that light pole is right there. And then to Jeremiah.
So
go ahead.
How close would Maxwell's house be to you right now on the left?
Right. So Maxwell's house to me right now. And again, if you can see the green gate right there. I don't know if you can see the green metal. So right through there is where Maxwell's house, and it would have been, the front of it would have been facing directly to where we are right now. So that shows you right now, I'd guess that we're probably 100 yards from it right now, give or take. Make sense?
Yeah.
So just to give somebody a little bit more perspective. So we all know that Garrett and Poe and McKinney were in the peach orchard before, when they were getting intel, they heard the voice, they saw somebody stand up and all that. The peach orchard would have been pretty much where the ravine is. If you see the tallest tree over there to the right, the brown tree, the real tall one, the peach orchard would have been about that location, slightly to the right in that really green, I guess it's not plowed, I don't know what they're growing, but that really green field over there, it would have been over there, would have been the peach orchard. And they, of course, would have left their horses in the peach orchard and traveled south across to where Maxwell's house is. Lucy, come here. So anyways, we'll progress further down to the location where Billy's grave is. So it's actually pretty cool. So since the last time I was here back in February, and they've actually added a lot of additions to the spot where Billy was killed that I just saw for the first time that I can't believe hasn't made it online yet. So we're going to go check that out. Come on, Lucy.
Now, where was Beaver's Saloon at?
Okay. Beaver's Saloon was going to be behind where Maxwell's house was. So if you'll remind me when we get down there, I can give you a much better view of it than where we're at right now. But basically, it's going to be that direction. Come on, Lucy.
So Christopher asked, the place Billy would have called home would be just basically to your left a piece, right?
Correct. Yeah, and we can get a really good view of where that was at when we get down there. Unfortunately, I mean, you can't stand on the actual spot because the floods changed the terrain. So you'd literally be standing on about 20 feet up of air. But yeah, we can point out pretty precise. I mean, with a little bit of air, we can point out pretty much exactly where it was at. Again, you just have to use your imagination because the ground's not there anymore.
That's wild.
But yeah, here to the Jeremiah's left, he's looking. This would have been the parade ground. I mean, again, we've all seen the photos of the parade ground. I don't know the history if that's going to be the same flagpole. I don't know what the significance of the white pole is. I mean, it makes sense to me that was a flagpole, but I have a hard time believing it would have stood the test of time. So I'm not really sure if anybody else has the history on that. Let us know. So, anyways.
Colin wants to know where Hargroves was.
Okay. So Hargroves would have been where we talked about earlier. Jeremiah will spin around, and
Right.
pretty much where we were standing before as we walked in. If you want to look, if you see our pickup truck, I'd say probably about 50 feet to the left of the pickup truck, right as the drive comes around. We actually
Okay.
show a photo of it, a new photo of it in our last journal. I think in Doss's article about Joe Grant being killed, we show a photo, and it's going to be right about where the bend in the road is to go where the truck is. Kind of where we started filming to begin with when we got down here.
Mario asked if you can walk on the parade ground without your shoes, please.
Tell Mario that will not be happening, sir. I mean, as you can see, I'm sure I don't know if it's gotten better since 1881 or worse, but I see goat head bushes already. Yeah, I like the enthusiasm, Mario, but it depends. If there's alcohol involved, I might consider it, but right now I'm sober, so I'm gonna have to pass. Oh,
hey Josh,
so,
what are those little signs?
Yeah,
what do those signs say that you keep passing?
Sure. Yeah, we can. Some of them are relevant to this, so it just shows the photos we've probably all seen. We'll see if Jeremiah can get in on them. But
Right.
like that photo, if it'll show up with the sun and the glare, we've all seen, and that gives you the same perspective as to where it would be. So when Jeremiah finishes zooming in on that, he can look up towards kind of the peach orchard, and that will show you the same angle that photograph was taken at.
Very cool.
So, yeah, and there's another one up on the other side of the parade ground another image that we've all recognized that we'll point out that's pretty neat. It just kind of, they place them exactly where the photographer was at the time. So it's pretty cool.
So yeah, talking about the, walking barefoot, Mike Martin wonders, at the time of Billy's death, would the parade ground have been just dust? And would that have been what he walked on up to Maxwell's?
So the parade ground, he would have walked on the exterior portion of the parade ground, I guess is the best way I can describe it. So I don't think there would have been no need to cut through it because, it's just the structure that he was saying at Cecil Gutierrez's home was on the outside of the parade ground, and Pete Maxwell's house was on the north side of it. So there was just not the north side, but on the other side of it. So basically he made a 90-degree angle to get into Maxwell's house. So yeah, he would not have cut across the parade ground that we know. I mean, obviously anything's possible, but I don't think that would have been the route he would take, and just given the structure and the layout of everything.
Okay.
So anyways, right here, before we go through here, this is the entry point into where it shows where Billy the Kid was killed. So basically, if you can envision 100 and some odd years ago, the officers' quarters would have been pretty much right where that gate is, and it would have ran across this way parallel over to about where the irrigation ditch is, and then it would have gone back, of course. So when when Pat Garrett left the peach orchard, which would have been over here, he would have progressed behind the houses, as they said, and come up around the front of the porch, which would have been over here, if that makes sense.
Hey, check on your boy Jeremiah.
Yeah, he's struggling. Yeah, I just looked back and realized that something's awry.
Hey, Christopher wanted to know if you can walk to where Billy was adjusting his pants and see if you could along where the fence would have been.
Yeah, I was wondering where that question was going, but yeah, absolutely. Let's see if we've got there's so many different directions that question could have gone. Lucy, come on. So yeah, anyways, when you come out here to see where Billy the Kid was killed at, it used to be, when I first came out here, probably my first trip was in 99, 2000. There was no concrete marker. There was no nothing. Actually, this was not open to the public. It was fenced off. There was a small gate, and a park ranger let me come back here. And at the time, all they had was about 10 bricks piled on top of each other that marked the spot where he was killed. And then, of course, at some point in time, they got rid of that, and they put the concrete slab that we're used to seeing. And that's what I expected to see today, but they actually redid that as well, and it's pretty badass. So we're going to come through here, and we're going to look at the marker that shows the spot where he was killed. And then once we do that, we'll break it down, and I'll start pointing out where Celsius was and the route he took and all that sort of stuff. So
Cleo says it was Billy messing with the camera.
It must have been. I mean, that makes more sense than Jeremiah would know what he was doing. So why not? so he's zooming in right now in the picture of the Maxwell house. Again, rough guess, I would say that photo was taken anytime between 1881 and 85, probably. And again, that's been that debate of whether it was a flat roof at the time or if it was the pitched roof like this. There's honestly evidence to support both, so we'll let the reader decide. But anyway, so they came down here, and as you can see now, I don't know, as you come into view, it takes a while to see it. It looks like it's just a concrete slab, but they've actually taken, and it's the shape of New Mexico now, which is really badass. I'm critical of the state sometimes for the way they've not respected Billy and honored Billy, but they did a solid job on this. So yeah, it's actually cut out. The stones are cut out, and that's the shape of the state of New Mexico. And then they took the same plaque, whatever you want to call it, stone mound, and they've elevated it a little bit. Try Lucy later to you. So this has been the look where actual bedroom was.
Wow.
So and yeah, it's pretty cool.
This is Hey Josh.
Yeah, what's up?
This is really interesting, but as soon as you guys got to Billy's death location there, everything started acting up. The service is real spotty, your voice is cutting in and out like it never has before. It's very odd.
That is odd. Yeah, I don't know. That is odd. I'll have to share a photo with some people. Yeah, go ahead.
Jeremiah, a lot of people are asking Jeremiah if you turn the phone on its side, if it would give a widescreen view or if it would just turn the view sideways.
I don't know. We're going to try. I think that's actually what he was trying to do earlier when all of a sudden everything went haywire. So let's try it again. Lucy, please post the photo.
It would be pretty cool to look into who authorized and who kind of got this project for this new stone laying here done.
Right. So, I know the state owns this part. So the cemetery is all the village of Fort Sumner, and the state owns and controls all this where we're at now, where the monument's at. So I know it's state funded. Now, with that in mind,
yeah, that's cool.
Does that work better? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Good deal. So with that in mind, while we were doing our rehearsals earlier to make sure all this stuff lined out right, one of the state workers came up to holler at me just to see what we were doing, and there it went. Are we back? All right. And they actually told me that they have plans right by this site. He didn't say specifically where, but they've got the funds and they're putting up a bronze statue of Billy the Kid, is what he told me. He said it'll look just like a photograph of him. I know he didn't give me a whole lot of details. He probably didn't know him, but he said they'd already acquired it and that shortly they were going to be putting a statue out here. So I don't know where I'd put it, but it's pretty cool, man. I'm glad to see, like I said, New Mexico's putting some effort and some money into this. Are we getting any of this, or is the camera just going berserk? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so that's Maxwell's bedroom right there.
Yes. So Maxwell's bedroom. So again, I'm guesstimating slightly here, just because we could be off, 10 feet one way or the other. But the front porch would have more than likely roughly ran parallel with this. And again, the front porch, the front of the house that we've seen that we just looked at with the donkey, the burrow, whatever you want to call it, Mel, sorry, in front of it would have been looking this direction. So yeah, the front porch would have been about here. So Poe and McKinney would have been sitting on the front porch somewhere in this vicinity right here. So with that in mind, if Poe and McKinney are sitting right there, and that's the bedroom, which again, we could be off 10 feet one way or the other, but it's pretty close. Then that would have meant that Billy came from Celsa's house, which would have been, if Jeremiah can see it and can step around, would have been about this angle, guesstimating about where the trees are to my left, and you can see some wood fence planks sticking up, maybe like some sort of debris over there. That would have been about the location of where Billy would have walked from, if that makes sense to everybody.
And the fence line along the way is kind of in a straight line here.
Correct. Yeah, correct. So the fence line would have probably run parallel this way out here. I would guess probably 15, 20 feet, and then it would have curved to go back this way to run parallel to where that site was.
Now, where were Poe and McKinney?
So Poe and McKinney, again, considering this is roughly the bedroom, Poe and McKinney would have probably been sitting on the front porch and by the gate, which would have been right here to probably this area right here. Billy would have probably, and again, I'm step back anymore and I'll step off down into the ravine, but Billy would have come in from this direction, probably encountered them here, tripped on the stairs at this point in time, key and S, something along those lines, come and then backed into the bedroom in this general vicinity right here, where he would have then encountered Garrett, and then we know how the rest
Wow.
goes. So again, I'm sure there's going to
Wow.
be some internet keyboard warriors that are going to critique my locations just a little bit, but if you take that basic concept and place it somewhere in this 20-foot square, 30-foot square radius, that's going to be about as close as we can get to the location.
Right.
So if Jamal will look over this way, somebody asked earlier where Beaver Smith's saloon would have been. So if you have seen a map of old Fort Sumner, it was a long track of adobes where Celsa was at and where Billy was staying at. Well, her adobe, or her home in that track of adobes, was sitting at about in the middle of it, if it's a long line. So that would have put Beaver's saloon at the very end of it on the western portion of the strip, which would have set it somewhere in this open area right here. I mean, again, we're purely guessing at this point in time just because of the terrain being altered. So, but probably from where I stand out to that direction, I would guess maybe 100 to 150 feet in that direction.
Wow.
And it sucks that the ground is not there anymore because it makes it really hard to retrace the steps. But
so you're saying through the flooding, all the ground was basically washed away.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's what altered the terrain. Because, you know, if you go right here to where I'm at now, I mean, I can go down a little. It's not a straight drop off, but I mean, it's a significant decline here. I'll just go all the way down. I mean, it's a significant drop off down to here. So in the Pecos, if you can see back there, you can actually see the tree, the green tree with the chair in the background. Right behind that is where the Pecos is running now. So, you know, at that time, it had gone up so high that it rerouted and changed the terrain all through here, you know, through the various floods, I think, in the early 1900s. And I think there was another one in the early 1930s as well. So, yeah, so in theory, you elevate me by 15, 20 feet, and you would have put me even and standing somewhat in the vicinity of where that strip had been made, which, again, would have put Beaver's saloon, I mean, honestly, probably somewhere right beyond this big tree right here is about as close as I think we can guesstimate, given the fact that the land's not here anymore. And then it would have run, the long strip of adobes would have run all the way down here, you know, 75 yards maybe. Come on, Lucy.
Wow.
So
it usually when you're dealing with historic locations, you're dealing with layers of earth added onto something, but here we're dealing with layers of earth missing.
A lot of layers missing. Yeah, isn't that ironic? I don't know of a whole lot of other historic examples. Come here, Lucy. So yeah, this is the site.
Andrew,
what else we got?
Andrew Haley suspects that Billy must have walked past Beaver's saloon and then turned right and came to Maxwell's house from the rear. That's his hypothesis on the matter.
Well, so if you listen to Silva's interview, Silva gave a couple interviews, of course, and each one of them are a little different. But one of Silva's interviews, he talked about they were sitting down in a ditch and they were drinking a beer. Well, again, my guess is it probably came from Beavers. And there's been, depending on what source you want to believe, there has been references of coming from Beavers. But to the best of my knowledge, I think pretty much every source says that he came directly from Celsa's to here. Now, at some point in time with Beavers intertwined with that right beforehand, that's certainly possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I would put money that I think he came from Celsa's. That seems to be the most credible source. And then came into this doorway in this general area right here. Because obviously the rear of it is the direction back here.
Colin says no wonder people thought the cemetery washed away. And I mean, yeah, when you're looking at that kind of, you know, land being taken away, it was the cemetery just not in the area of the flood?
No, I mean, it's, you know, when we get down and I show everybody where the Carpenter shop was, where they moved the body and all that, we can see the cemetery much better. But basically, if this is Maxwell's house right here, the cemetery is going to be about 300 yards that way. So it's not super close to where the Pecos was. I mean, guessing here a couple hundred yards from it. So it's certainly possible that some floodwaters came into that. But I think that's why we've also come to find out that, yeah, there was standing water in there, but I don't think it was aggressive water that was flushing out headstones and all that sort of stuff. It was more just standing water at that point in time.
Yeah. Well, DJ
So,
says,
yeah.
I'm curious if the pup can pick up some senses through their doggy instincts. How's Lucy acting? Look at her. She's freaking out right now.
Lucy's just out of control. Calm down, Lucy. It'll be all right. Yeah, Lucy don't give a you know what.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. We
What
give
are
the
those
people what they
stones
want
to
around
your
here.
left, Jeremiah?
So the stones to the left, it's funny. The best we could figure out is maybe at first they thought they would do these and realized that it wasn't good enough for the monument. I don't know. These are new too. They weren't here the last time I
Okay.
was here in February, so I'm not sure. I will show everybody one more thing real quick. If Jeremiah will turn directly around and look the opposite direction, kind of in the same. So basically, this will be the back part of the Maxwell house, which would probably run out somewhere around this area up here. So if you go that way, of course, there's the Pecos over there. And running along that at the time was also the Las Vegas to Roswell Road. So that would have been one of the main thoroughfares that they took, like I said, going to Vegas or Roswell. So that 75-mile trip they would have had to take to find a photographer to photograph a
Wow,
body
yeah.
in the scorching heat would have been 75 miles that way. So good luck with that, because it's only about 86 out here right now, and I'm sweating my ass off. So
Yeah.
I've been out here when it's 110 degrees in July, and it is miserable. So, Lucy,
No
where are you
doubt.
going? We're going this way. So yeah, so if there's no other questions back here, we'll walk back towards the parade ground, and then we'll point out where the carpenter's bench or carpenter's shop was, and then I can give y'all a perspective of the cemetery again from this location, because we know basically
Yeah.
after, I mean, again, the accounts vary a little bit, but if they removed the bench or the body from the carpenter shop and then took it to Beavers, if you want to follow Paco and I's account, then from Beavers, which would have been where we just pointed out, they would have loaded the body up and taken it to the cemetery, which again is probably a quarter of a mile this way. So, but we'll get back on the parade ground. We'll walk around the parade ground. We'll show some more of the pictures to kind of help put it into perspective a little bit. And then we're going to find a shade tree because it's hot. Come on, Lucy.
Have a beer in a peach orchard.
Oh, God, I'd kill for a beer right now. Or a peach orchard, to be honest. So you can see it a little bit better now, Jeremiah. I didn't realize when we were here earlier, but this is a little closer. So if you're looking at a Google map image from an overhead image looking down, the terrain definitely cuts away. So from this perspective, you can see a lot closer to the debris I was showing. It'll give you a little bit better idea of the route Billy would have taken. So he would have literally, again, if this was level ground, it would have been probably 20 to 30 feet out parallel to this, walking across up to Jeremiah's right where the Maxwell site is. So again, unfortunately, just this chunk of earth has been completely removed, which makes it hard to figure things out.
I mean, could you imagine the type of flood it would have had to have been to take that kind of land away?
Monumental, man. I know, it's crazy. Yeah, walking back to the parade ground. Again, so to the left, again, you'll see where Jeremiah's truck is, the black truck. That's going to be the rough location of Hargrove Saloon where Joe Grant was killed. Commissary building was over here to the left. Indian Agency was back about 100 yards that direction.
The Indian Agency?
The Indian Hospital, I apologize, my mistake. The old Indian Hospital as Tom was killed. It was, again, about 150, 200 yards back that way. Again, to my right over here is the strip of adobes where a lot of residents lived, where Celso lived, where Billy came from. And then this is about the best view to look at with going with it. If you look this direction, close to, I would say probably 100 feet this side of the monument over there, the museum, is going to be where the carpenter shop was, where they would have taken the body. So, in some of the accounts, they talk about Garrett and Pete and Maxwell and all them. I'm sorry, Maxwell, Garrett. I've just lost my train of thought. Sorry. So when they were staying in the house after they removed Billy's body, and they were fortified inside the house, expecting the villagers to attack or to do whatever, they can make reference of hearing the people being disgruntled from the carpenter shop where the body was at. So that would have put it over there, which is a couple hundred yards away. In the dead of the night, I could see hearing that.
That's some pretty powerful disgruntledness.
Yeah, that's a lot of mad, but and there's not a lot out here. It's not like there were cars to drown it out. Having been in the woods and out in the wilderness many times at night, sound carries, so I could definitely.
Yeah,
I could see.
but you're probably not just like you're probably not just softly crying by the body.
Yeah.
You're,
Yeah, that's some
know.
cussing and some disgruntledness for sure. So, but yeah,
Declan asked, "Did Beaver Smith in later life ever talk about Billy?" And not that we know of. He
right.
may
Yeah,
have.
sure. And I'm sure we've talked about this. With the research we've done on Beaver Smith, which I know we're doing, there'll be an article in this journal coming up. Yeah, there's no mention that Beaver talked about Billy any after that. I mean, in fact, after he goes to Fort Sumner, or I'm sorry, to Las Vegas with Maxwell in 1881, maybe a few months after Billy's death, that's the
Yeah.
last time he's even mentioned being in the state. And then we'll leave the
Yeah.
rest of that for our research later. But yeah, there was no mention of Beaver Smith anytime after, really at all. I mean, there's no documentation of Beaver referencing Billy at all, just kind of the other way around. So,
Got a question from Colin.
yeah.
He says, so Pat would have circled west out of the orchard, south along the avenue, and then northeast to Maxwell's?
So the orchard is over here. So Pat would have been in the orchard. He would have left his horses in the orchard and came behind the residence, the structure, Maxwell's, which is this direction, which would have been south. So yeah, he would have left the orchard going west, then cut south down to Maxwell's. If my directions are right. I'm not Rand McNally, but I think I'm right. So I think that's right, Colin, if I understood you.
And then northeast and then up to Maxwell's, northeast to Maxwell's.
And then basically northeast back. I would say more east back to Maxwell's. I mean, we don't know how far south he progressed, if he just went traveled south from the orchard to Maxwell's house, or if he went further down and doubled back. I mean, we don't know. But yeah, he would have gone west out of the orchard, gone south down to Maxwell's.
And a question from Andrew. Was it Hargraves or Beaver Saloon where the tintype was taken?
Beavers is what.
Yeah.
I guess it was Paulita that said that, if I'm correct. I always remember Hargroves is Joe Grant, and Beavers is the tintype. That's how I always keep them separated. So if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, we'll walk over to the Carpenter spot. Plus, just because I'm being lazy and there's some shade over there, we're going to sit down and carry this on from there. But yeah.
Now, as we're walking, just a little info about Beaver. Andrew said that Beaver claimed Billy's guns after the shooting, and I do know that it's supposed that after the Stinking Spring arrest, that Beaver claimed Billy's Winchester because of a bar tab.
Yes.
And
yeah, that's my understanding. Now I'm trying to think. There's so many stories that come out about what happened to his guns and all that. I can't remember. For some reason, that does strike a chord with me, and I think I remember reading somewhere that Beaver threw a fit and wanted some of the guns.
Yeah.
But again, sorry, I hope the wind's not a problem. It just kicked up real good. But we know that, if you believe Siringo, we know that the pistol was confiscated and taken and sold at auction. And then we know the rifle has been very well documented, and I think Coke now owns the rifle. So that leaves me to believe or question how many more guns there could have possibly been.
Right. I think it might have been Jim East who said that Beaver claimed the Winchester after Stinking Springs, but that's
I think so.
Completely different gun. Billy probably acquired a ton more guns from the arsenal before he came back to Fort Sumner.
So this route, not to change subject, but what I think about it, Jeremiah pointed out. So this route I'm walking right now would have been the approximate route they would have taken with Billy's body to the Carpenter shop. Again, they could have come down a little bit to our right, I guess, but again, that would have been back this direction, picking up about 100 feet and going up would have been where those lines of adobes would have started. So the natural path to come to the Carpenter shop would have been pretty much right through here where we're walking, which would have placed the Carpenter shop somewhere probably in this fenced-in pasture right behind this large tree right here, which is where I'm going to sit down at because it's hot.
Run for the tree.
I know, right? Exactly. Lucy's pissed too because we didn't bring any water. So, but yeah, so hopefully. So, okay, while we're walking here, Jeremiah can show everybody. So right here, you can see I don't know. The cemetery is going to be off this direction to the west, to the east. I'm sorry. I don't know, Jeremiah, what do you think? 200 yards? 200? Maybe 300 yards. But yeah, not a far distance. So the trail they would have taken And at the time, the road that was listed and documented would have run pretty much that same route that we took driving up here when we were showing you where the old Indian hospital was.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, this whole area here, I don't know, I would guess this is probably 20 acres from end to end would have been what encompassed Fort Sumner at that time. So, lots changed, as you can see. Cousin Lucy. But yeah, so other than that, do we have a lot? I can't see the screen. It's kind of hard because I can't see the comments and I can't see the screen. Are we? How's our viewers looking? We got a good turnout today.
Yeah, we're up at 62 right now.
Outstanding, good deal.
And basically, I think we're all up to date on the questions. There seems to be some question about what Billy's tab could have been at Beaver's Saloon since he didn't drink that much.
Right.
Fred says he appreciates the update on the Delavina sign. He's glad to know it's still holding up, and hopefully you cleaned enough of the bird crap off of it to make it look presentable.
It was actually very clean. So I don't have to tell Fred. I'm talking to Fred. Yeah, Fred, we've our minds have been spinning, and I've got some good ideas for you. So we're going to be in touch with you pretty soon because I've got some good ideas. But yeah, the Delavina sign looks great. I was kind of worried at first, being a wood, set in wood, that maybe that wood would deteriorate after a while. But I mean, it's only been a year and a half, but it looks like it's holding up really, really well. So that's awesome.
So, yeah, this was we're right at an hour and 1 minute. It's almost like you timed the tour.
No shit. It's already been an hour. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know if we've got more questions. We can talk. We got the camera on a tripod now, so we're this is a coalition right here, boys. This is. We all have faces for radio except for Lucy.
Yeah, I actually report to Lucy. Lucy's higher than me in the coalition chain.
That's accurate. That is actually very accurate. If you saw where we all sat driving down here, you'd understand. Well, actually, you did. You've been with Lucy. You know where that sits.
Yep. Mike Martin says the whole area looks pretty parched. In July, would it have been really parched, as in no green at all?
So one of the first things I thought when I got here and I looked at the cemetery and walked out here is I thought how green it looked. So if you think this is parched, then you're in for a rude awakening come July, because this is actually pretty pleasant. As hot as it is right now in the shade, it's actually very comfortable. But yeah, man, it is. That's why, again, we're going to get started on my soapbox again. But just the concept and to think of leaving a body sitting in this kind of heat and 100, 115 degree heat, because I've been here in July. I've come down here in July a lot, and it's just miserable. It's an oven. I mean, it literally is. It's like standing behind a car exhaust is what it is. It's just brutal. So, anybody that's ever had an animal die, or you've smelled what death smells like, and then you can imagine sitting in that heat for a week. It's just absurd. It's just terrible. That's why it's just ridiculous to consider. Because it's hot. This is very green for right now.
Visit Fort Sumner in July, and you'll never think
of it again. Brad wants to know: didn't Garrett work at Beavers as well? And
right, yeah, it's speculated. He's mentioned in several letters with Beaver, and I think Metz talks about it also. But yeah, he would have came over and. To my knowledge, and if you can think of other ones to chime in, we had him working for Beaver for a while. There's been some speculations that he worked for Maxwell as well. I know the speculations kind of really come in what he did with Maxwell, whether it was wrestling or what. And then we know him and McKinney raised, sold, did something with hogs. So yeah, those are the three things that come to my mind right now once Garrett came over to Fort Sumner from Texas.
Interesting. ASYS official, ASIS official. Thanks for all you do to bring us the history as close as possible. Greetings from Germany. So that's cool.
Wow, Germany. What's
Thank
it like?
You for watching.
In the morning there right now. Outstanding.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in and checking us out.
I know. I want to take it. It's 3:30 in the afternoon right now, and I want to go to sleep. So I can't imagine it being 3:30 in the here. It's been a hot day. We started out at. We'll tell everybody. We'll post it later this week. We started out at Stinking Springs this morning. Got some pretty cool announcements with that coming up. Got some good drone footage. I did a real quick short video, maybe a 5-minute video, laying out the terrain, showing where we believe the door opening was, where Boundary would have stood, where the posse, the Arroyo, the hills they were behind We laid all that out pretty good.
Should have that up in the next couple of days.
Yeah, we'll put that up in the next couple of days just to kind of spread out the content. We went to the Wilcox Ranch, Wilcox Brazil Ranch as well. Flew the drone. Yeah, we'll post those photos. So yeah, man, we've got some cool stuff. Tomorrow we're gonna stick around. We're gonna go visit the Chamber of Commerce and pass out some more Billy merch. We're gonna go to the museum. I'm gonna try to see, just so everybody knows, we're gonna try to see if the museum will let us film inside the museum, and we'll give just a little tour, at least of the Billy related stuff. I mean, it's kind of a big museum, but probably 20% is related to Billy. So we'll talk about that. We'll show people that. I don't know.
Tonight we're gonna have a beer with Billy here on site.
Yeah.
Misty James says you're not making it sound very appealing to visit right now.
It's actually beautiful right now. The weather's beautiful, but in July it won't be so beautiful.
Yeah, this is one of those areas where the times of years where it's enjoyable to come to is pretty slim, because I've been here. Seems like as many times I've been here, I'm almost always here in the winter because I hate snakes, or I come in the summer because I don't know why, because I hate snakes and I hate heat. But it's cold in the winter and it's really, really hot in the summer. So this is one of the few times I've come in the spring, and this is by far, even though it is hot in the sun, this is by far the most enjoyable it's been. And we've been here most of the day, and we've got a little bit of sunburn, but other than that, it's not bad. But not to knock Fort Sumner, but if you're not interested in Billy the Kid history, there's probably not a lot here that would attract you. I mean, they've got a pretty good all-subs, and we're at the Super 8 right now. So, yeah, Billy the Kid.
I still have to try. Here. You guys told me all about the all-subs burritos last time, and that's on my list next time I come.
We call them gut grenades down here.
They're an icon, James. They're an icon.
Yep.
You're not gonna be right after your first one, I promise you.
It is a life-changing experience. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Hey, how far is it to Los Portales from here?
So Los Portales, as far as a drive from here, you're looking at about an hour and 15 minutes going back east towards Clovis. So you'll actually take Clovis is about a 45-minute drive from where we're at right now. And then from Clovis, you cut south, maybe 30 minutes, 35 miles, give or take, to Los Portales, where Billy's Cave is at.
How long of a ride for Billy would it have been?
So, I mean, you probably, and again, I'm not the horseman here, but you're looking at probably 75 to 80 miles, a day, spend the night somewhere and finish out the trip the next morning would be my guess. I mean, most good horses back then, you're looking at 40, 45 miles a day, maybe more. Like I said, Mel, you're definitely more of a horseman, no pun intended, than I am. So, she might tell me a little different, but 45 to 70 miles a day, I think is respectable, maybe. And maybe I'm just way off on that, and it's not near that far, but that sounds right.
Yeah. Natalie asked when James is coming back, and my plan is to come back for Old Lincoln Days. So we never really know until the day of, until I actually start traveling. I like to keep everybody in the dark.
Yeah, but, James, you're not known for setting out long game plans.
Nope.
Lucy just discovered sheep, by the way. In case you're wondering the background.
Yeah, Lucy found sheep. So, but yeah, and when James comes up here, we're gonna hit Fort Sumner on the way out of Amarillo, and then we'll head south from here down to Lincoln for Lincoln Days. So, we'll film something from here when James comes back down in August. But James, I'm Andrew wants right now, brother. August is a whole lot hotter than it is right now.
I'm sure it'll look fine from the car, and you guys can tell me all about it.
Yeah, we'll just point. So that's fair. What'd you have, man?
Andrew wants to know if you guys have ever been to Dan Dedrick's homestead.
Are you referencing the one that came out about 30 miles south of here, which would have been the original Chisholm Ranch site?
I'm not sure.
Are we referencing that?
What?
So he had a ranch there. So yeah, they operated a ranch out of there, and there's some speculation that's where a lot of the counterfeiting came out of. So yeah, that's actually located about 40 miles south of here. I've not been on the site yet. That's actually one of the 2 or 3 that I'm still trying to get trying to make happen. I know the property owner. He's actually talked to us in Lincoln Days a few times. I've got an invite. I actually was on my way down there last year when I went to the Yerby Ranch site. Y'all remember that? And I got sick on the way, so I had to cancel that portion of the trip. So yeah, I've not been there yet. It's my understanding that there's still a little bit of the structure there. but again, it's hard to get to. You have to have permission, which again we have. It's just a matter of he actually works and lives in Roswell, so I'll actually have to make the drive down to Roswell, which is about a 4-hour drive from my house, and then come back up this direction to go to that site. So it's just something that I got to plan a day or two for and make happen. But it's on the list.
Yeah. Well, Susan says, great work, guys. Thanks for this, and looking forward to you all visiting other places live on screen. I think this went pretty well.
Did it? I'm anxious to watch it.
As grainy as it was grainy as expected. I mean, you're going to have some graininess and some lag, but I thought it went through well. There wasn't a lot of delay in the talking, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, good. I'm anxious to watch it and then read the handful of people that criticize me for being 20 feet off here or there. But that's show business, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't.
We can do more of these.
Those usually come in after the fact. I didn't see too many real time.
Well, that's good. That's good. But yeah, like Jeremiah said, we've gotten, we're starting to spend a little bit of money on equipment. We're getting better. We'll start doing a lot more of this live stuff from different locations.
My camera work will only get better because it can't get much worse.
Yeah, the spinning. Yeah, we'll iron that out. But yeah, I think it's good, man. If there's anything else anybody's got, I mean, ask away. But if that's it, I'm pretty close to taking my afternoon nap.
Just just a couple more things. Christopher says doing this at the old Casey dugout would be great.
That would be cool. Now Jeremiah was there the last time at the Tunstall Ranch. Chose my fear from there, and Jeremiah can tell me, I don't think we're gonna have reception there.
No reception there. I was there about I don't know what was that, about 7 or 8 months ago. I went there to the Choza.
Yeah, I can't really hear when Jeremiah talks, so I'm not really sure what was said. But
he was just sorry. Where's Lucy at, by the way?
She ambled to your right earlier.
Am I right? She might be behind the tree somewhere. Oh, she's under the table. Never mind. Oh, she's literally right underneath our feet. You can probably, James, you jackass, you can see her from the damn camera. Anyways, there's no telephone reception. Yeah, so I remember during, again, I'm going to talk for him just because limited what he can hear on his end. But yeah, there's just no telephone. There's no reception there. I remember when he turned off of the highway to get up there, he called me and he's basically like, hey, I'll talk to you in about 4 hours and let's hope I come back alive because there was no reception. So I don't know any way that unless
pre-recorded.
Yeah,
we need a coalition Starlink. We need a Starlink for the coalition. Hey, I have all the equipment.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
actually,
I have the equipment. We can just transfer service to you guys.
Bring it down Lincoln Days.
Yeah, just bring it all Lincoln Days, and we'll see what happens. Or maybe we're lucky and Elon Musk is listening and he's going to start sponsoring us. That would be handy.
Yeah, he needs to get Elon needs to get a really strong interest in Billy the Kid.
He really does, because we can flex our muscle to Coke. That would be nice.
Yeah, yeah. We need some new rich boys in town. But
there we do.
That's pretty much it. I'll let you guys nap. I can tell it's getting close to nap time. We're about an hour and 15 minutes, so.
Okay, man, that went by fast. I had no idea it was.
Well, dang, DB just threw $10 our way on YouTube, so we appreciate that.
Awesome.
That made it all worth it.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I will pay for the beer that we're going to buy here when we leave. So appreciate that.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you guys get some beer for it. I guess I'll just go sit on the porch and drink my Coca-Cola Classic.
Hey, with all those kids.
Yeah.
I'm always
all right, guys.
Because of the background noise earlier. Did y'all get those diapers changed?
Oh man, they went to a birthday party now, so I'm here by myself in the studio. But Lord, it's always a mess.
I got you. That's all right, man. That's what makes life fun. So, all right. Well,
sure.
That's all we've got, unless y'all got something else.
Whoops! I accidentally removed you from the stage. But yeah,
I guess we're done. We're out.
Yeah, that was cool. Let's do it again sometime. But yeah, this was a great Sunday live show. Thanks everybody for joining us. We had upwards of about 60 folks tuning in, and DB Cooper bought beers for the boys, and we had a blast. So y'all go get back in that truck and get cool, buy you some beers, and take it easy the rest of the evening. They must have already left. They really did. They didn't care. They said, all right, we're out. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. That went a lot better than I thought it would. Like I believe DB said, there was probably a 22.3% chance of that going off. Any any measure of successfully. I don't know if Josh is back yet. Hey,
Can you see me? Yep, I'm here. Are we still live? We still talking, or are we just doing something?
yeah, we're still live. I was
this
just
is
saying
like
my
the after
goodbyes.
party.
Yeah, I was just saying my goodbyes, and I was saying that DB said he gave it a 22.3% chance of success watching the
That's
test
about
video.
20.3% chance better than I gave it. So
Right. So
appreciate the
this went off pretty well.
Yeah,
But yeah.
very well. Whoever saw the pregame, which if anybody wants to see things, if anybody ever says we take ourselves too seriously, we need to watch the pregame because I've never been accused of that. So awesome.
Well, if anybody ever says I take myself too seriously, they haven't watched a single episode of this show.
Not a single one. So, all right.
DJ says he says Josh is red as an apple.
I know, man, I am, and I've been wearing a hat and sunglasses all day, so I'm still burned. So that's why that nap and the brewski's calling. So
yeah,
I'd love to keep talking to y'all, but I can't drink beer and talk to you and hold the phone at the same time, James.
Get to it, guys. We'll see y'all. See you next week.